5-hour recess.
Okay, thank you, council members. We're back in session. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if we can take communication 326 and 326.1.
Communication 326, appointment of Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Environmental Management Director from Mayor William P. Kanoy, dated June 3rd, 2013, submitting for the council's confirmation the above appointment waived EMC. And communication 326.1 from Mayor William P. Kanoy, dated June 18, 2013, stating that pursuant to the requirements of the Charter of the County of Hawaii, Ms. Leithead Todd's appointment is effective June 3rd, 2013.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to confirm the appointment of Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Environmental Management Director and file related communications?
So moved. Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Curran, seconded by Mr. Kanuha. Ms. Leithead Todd, if you please come forward. Good morning. Hit your mic. Good morning. Yeah, if you'd like to open with any comments, remarks.
Well, it was just kind of an unexpected turn of events, having already been confirmed by the council earlier to be the planning director. So it's been an interesting month. As many of you know, it's been a challenging month for me because I had 2 kids getting married in a 5-week span at the same time that I took over the department. And it's required changes because sometimes my day starts at 4 a.m. because I made a commitment to the staff that I would try and make the 6:45 a.m. Bayshard meeting. So in order to make the 6:45 a.m. meeting in Kona, it means I got to get up and dig out very early. But I think it's been useful because it gives the staff access to me and a certain amount of validation as to the value of their work. We're working on some forms to solicit information and suggestions from the staff, because one of the things that I've heard out in the field is they have their own opinions about what kind of equipment we should be ordering and getting in. And I think some of the biggest concerns I have are some of the facts that there are things that haven't been addressed in many, many years. One example is we haven't raised wastewater fees since 2002. And that's going to be a critical issue because you are supposed to be, under federal regulations, putting money into a repair and maintenance account. And we're at the point that you're basically subsidizing. So there are some challenges for the department. But it's been, it's very different. It's much more operational in terms of what the department does, and it's much more driven by contracts and equipment, and including union contracts, than the planning department, because it's a much larger department, and so you have more of those types of issues show up. But I'm here, I did want to make one comment, because it has been something that people have testified and made reference to. In 2007, and I sent each of you an email on this, when I was confirmed as the director of the Department of Environmental Management, the language in the county charter required 5 years of experience in an administrative, in a related field. And when I came before the council in 2007, my experience was as a deputy corporation counsel. And the position we had taken was that the administrative experience I had was as a deputy corporation counsel. And that language, related field, was in the charter in 2007. And you may or may not agree as to whether a law degree and my experience as a county attorney are a related field. But in 2007, I was unanimously supported by the county council, including Ms. Ford and Mr. Yoshimoto, based on that experience as an attorney as being qualified to serve as the Director of Environmental Management. The language now says you have to have a degree as an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. And the position I took, because as soon as the mayor asked me about this, I took a look at a charter. If in 2007 my experience as a county attorney was experience in a related field, then it's the position I take that today my law degree is a degree in a related field, because you do not interpret a charter to say that the language in one paragraph, the same words related field in one sentence, means something different than the words related field in another sentence. So, and I'm available for questions if you have them. There was one comment that Mr. Reese had made. Our engineers are not certified wastewater operators. We have staff who are certified wastewater operators because they have to take specific classes for that. Our prior directors have not been certified wastewater operators. It is a specific license that you have to take a test and have continuing classes for. It is not something that is held by the people who have been the directors or even necessarily the division chiefs.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leithead. Let's see, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
So first off, thank you for your willingness to serve here. We did just confirm you to the planning department, which has been really great to work with you on that. We have had the opportunity to work together for a good number of years, and it's been a great experience and a learning experience for me and an educational experience for me as well. With the controversy about the charter, I feel we can put that aside. It's been looked at. We have legal review. We've had multiple attorneys look at it. I don't think any of them would put the county, the department, or you into jeopardy. I think it was looked at objectively and seriously, so I don't have an issue with that. I support it. The thing is, for me, it doesn't even really make sense to a degree. As the Mayor Kanoy said, each department is a good-sized corporation. And what we have in there is we have many qualified people to do their job. What we've been needing is somebody to oversee it that has vision and is able to actually administer all of it and bring it all together. It's so complex, and it's in such dire need of revamping, revitalization, if you will. So when I was thinking about who might be the director for that department, I just kept on thinking to myself, somebody that can go in and really encompass all of the challenges there, all of the issues, to take an objective approach to it, but also be willing to make tough decisions and be able to actually manage people. And with the way that the planning department has been running, it's been great. It's I hardly hear any complaints. Great people, great team, great staff, and that's what, to me, you do as a leader or the CEO of the department, is you build and encourage the folks that are working in there and enable them to really do their job and take care of all that. And I really feel that you have all the ability and skill and wherewithal to do that. And so I'm just delighted that you're going to be the director, and we get to work with you, and we get to actually see some major change that's been needed for quite a long time. And it's solid waste and wastewater is they're major issues, and they're issues that I'm concerned about too, especially with our overall solid waste issue. And you have, like Mr. Goodell there. He's the guy going out there. You're enabling him. You're working with him. You know what I mean? We have Dora Beck. They're doing that. So I don't understand the need or even think it would be necessary to have that. And I totally believe that the related field part would be, if it was true back then, it's true right now. And you are the right person for the right job, because there's going to be some serious tough decisions made. And we all know that you're able and capable of doing those, and don't take any flack and keep it real and straight shooter. So I absolutely support you, and I encourage my fellow council members to support you. Thank you for being willing to do this. This is probably way more challenging than the planning department.
Yes, it is.
So appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kern. Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I'd like to, make a note of Mr. Reese's, when you testified in support of Ms. Leithead's appointment, if it is legal. And, as a representative of the people, my job is to, that everything that comes before us, I want to make sure of course, it's legal, it's fair, and it's just. So, as a HR manager in my previous role before I became a county council person, I put on that hat and I needed to do my due diligence in looking at an application for a job, and does that fit into the job description and what that requirements are. So I usually at work, I have this chart, so because I got to put which applications can go through the next level, which ones I cannot. So basically what I have to refer to is the job description. In this case, it's the ordinance. And so what I did is I put Director of Environmental Management. And then I looked at what it said. And when I look at the 5 years experience in a related field, it doesn't say what related field, but I know it's to do with the Director of Environmental Management at the top, because everything that is there stated, it's to do with whatever that job title is. Okay? Then I move on to the next one, and I said, okay, engineering degree. Okay, so you don't get that mark on yours, because it's an engineering degree, like the mayor stated. It's not an electrical engineer. We know it's to do with that job title of the Director of Environmental Management. Then I moved on to the next one, or a related field. It doesn't say a degree in an engineering related field. It says, or a related field to what? To being the Director of the Environmental Management. Now, I'm doing my due diligence here, so I'm going, how does she connect to this? What is her background that gives her the related field? And what does the Director of Environmental Management have to deal with? Okay, so I look at the legal and regulatory oversight that department has with all the permits, and the possibility of regulatory violations. So in the related field, definitely for me, the attorney, the lawyer would fit in that related field for that. So you met, for me, the criteria that I would look for in an HR manager, as an HR manager position. Now, I agree with Mr. Aaron Chung's statement too, when he stated, you know, if we get 100 people to read even a job description, some people may interpret things differently. It's unfortunate. So that's why, as an HR person, when I would write job descriptions, if I wanted it to be an in a related field of engineering, then you state that. You know, as I read the transcripts of the meetings from the commissioners, you know, and what Margaret had passed out for everyone to see, he did at Mr. What's his name? Lono Tyson. He was a solid waste division chief, and then the Department of Environmental Management, the director. He did state that related field could be anything from environmental science to even geology to a certain extent. But, he says, but, he has a but in there that says a technical background that supports a lot of the very difficult decisions that the director has to make. So, with my due diligence, and I don't just depend on myself, because even when I was the HR manager, I always rely on our labor law attorneys or our Hawaii Employers Council, which I get tired of hearing from me, because every time I think about the law, is this legal, can I do this? So I did, and our legal body is our Corporation Council. I did go outside and ask too. I just didn't rely on just our Corp Council. But in the position that I'm in, I have to trust my Corp Council's decisions as well. That's why we're in this. I came to be here as a county council person because I knew the organizational structure, and I trust that. I have to. That's my obligation. So, at this time, I'm supporting you, because I think you would do a very good job, and I think we need that skill level, not just an engineer there, but people who have administrative high skill level to be able to pull this forward. So I look forward to working with you, and I am very optimistic.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby Jean. And I've been struggling with this, so I'm glad I finally get a chance to speak and get it off my chest, but what I need to say. I do respect that you're the mayor's choice for the director, I'm sorry. I do respect that you are the mayor's choice for the director, and I believe that you have very, very high qualifications and experience and skills that would be advantageous to the department. But with all due respect, I believe that I was elected to uphold the law and to honor what I believe was the intent of the county voters when they adopted the charter language that's in question. And had I not been the secretary to the Charter Commission, I might be able to feel differently or see it differently, but the language to me that states that the director shall have had 5 years of administrative experience in related field isn't the problem. I could understand why that could be accepted before and now. But when I read and listen to what went down in the Charter Commission and what I believe the voters may interpret the language to read, it says that you need an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. And to me, that's pretty clear. It's saying that if someone does not have an engineering degree, then he or she must have a degree in a field that's related. In this case, I think it means to engineering, and possibly to the Department of Environmental Management. But I'm having a struggle, and I don't feel that the law degree meets the charter requirement, and so I may not be able to support your nomination, but I wanted to apologize in advance and tell you that it's nothing personal, and I believe you're a wonderful administrator and would do a good job there. So I'm sorry.
No, I understand that. I take in a great deal of comfort in the fact that Lono Tyson, who is the person that came in and recommended some of those changes, sent a letter supporting my nomination and, in fact, has stated that he believes my qualifications, including my law degree, make me qualified for the position. You will also have letters from both a former head of DPW as well as the deputy director of DPW who oversaw solid waste and wastewater, supporting my nomination and for this position in their belief that I'm qualified and that my law degree is related to running the department because of the number of contracts as well as permits and regulatory issues that come up. But I fully understand, and if I'm confirmed and you're one of the people who votes against my confirmation, that's not going to prevent me from being able to work with you on issues. I understand that this is not personal. This has to do with your belief and your interpretation of the charter, and I fully understand that, having sat in your position once upon a time.
Well, thank you very much for saying that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yoff. Ms. Willie, and then followed by Mr. Kunwa. Ms. Willie?
Okay. Yeah, I share Karen's concern, Ms. Yoff's concern, and not with you, but with my perception of the county charter. I felt, when we took our oath, that was what I looked at. That is the county charter, just so everybody hearing those words is clear, is our Constitution. And that section that has experience, certain amount of administrative experience, and then second, an educational experience, and here an engineering degree or in a related field. And, I get concerned where I look at the county charter, what the words look like, just sort of what I felt the voters would think reading what was in the charter when they voted on it. And let me say, I follow the Charter Commission. I think I went to all, if not maybe one meeting I missed. I was concerned about adding this, why that was being added, or just sort of generally how much micromanaging one does in terms of qualifications, and just the whole idea of how much technical knowledge versus administrative ability, and balancing that. And, and the commission had the same questions. And the commission, at first, they said, well, let's not add in that engineering word. Let's make it, because there was a suggestion from Lono Tyson. And instead, they put in 5 years administrative experience in a related field and possess a degree in a related field. Okay? And that's what the commission voted. And then, after that, Lono Tyson came in and said no, and said, I recommend that the amendment be modified to include an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. And what he explained, and I'm going to just paraphrase, but was that you have people underneath you that do have degrees in a lot of technical, and that he felt it was really important in terms of this area to have a higher level of technical knowledge. Now, again, I was there and it was like, okay. And then they said, particularly Chair Haitsuka kept saying, what is it related to? Is it related to that field or that department? And asked them, he said, I have a question and I'm not sure what related field would be in this area. What would it be related to, would it be other than engineering? And he said, gave his example, a related field could be anything ranging from environmental science to even geology to a certain extent. In other words, I saw that just vaguely, okay, it's got to be something engineering or science related to what you're doing. And that he felt, what he said is to get away considering politics and negotiations, just that was his input. So, again, that's my background in this. Having been there, I felt it was a little bit, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to have that additional requirement? But that's the way it went. I will say in terms of, you bring up legal opinions, and yes, our corporation counsel is saying that, and usually I get angry, but I sort of feel sad here. I mean, I really found this really poor. I mean, that's why I feel we should have our own attorney here and not get where it's to me, very slanted. So, again, I'm not going to support it. I do think that there's an issue, and I don't think because what happened in 2007, we have a very important intervening event, and that's the will of the people. I mean, let me just say, I worked on quite a few charter amendments and pushing to get the public more input and things like that. And there's one in particular that on natural resources and cultural resources, and it made it in there. And I don't want it. I just feel this is our Constitution, and what do we do with it, and how do we support it? So, and as a lawyer, I see, one, I felt it was clear. Two, you look at the legislative history. I think the legislative history supports the common sense interpretation, and that's how I stand. So those are not questions how great a job you're doing. It's just what do we in our Constitution set forth as the the qualifications for the job.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Kanuha.
Thank you. I also had a hard time, but I want to try to, can I bring up, is Lincoln Corporation Counsel? I just wanted to ask that main question. Are we, obviously, the administration would have put up your nomination if it was violating the charter. But I just want to ask, by approving Ms. Bobby Jean Leithead Todd's nomination, are we going to be in violation of our county charter?
Well, Lincoln Ashida Corporation Counsel, as Ms. Willie indicated, as she referenced, publicly referenced the communication I sent to you, the way that we analyzed this, and we, again, what we had to look at, I wasn't there, okay? I didn't have, like, as Ms. Yoff said, she served as the secretary, so what I relied upon were the records. I read all of the transcripts, all of the communications relative to that particular charter amendment. And, it really speaks to, as lawyers often talk about, it's important to have a good record, because that's what's going to be relied upon in the years years down the road. In this case, what is abundantly clear is this. What we had to pay attention to is not so much what what conclusions were made by letters or testimony, but really what was deliberated and said and ultimately decided by the commissioners who served on the commission. Yeah, because if you just said, well, we're going to just pay attention and give the most amount of credence to, let's say, written testimony, then it's just a numbers game. You add up how much are in favor of something, how much are opposed. You say, okay, that's what they meant to happen. That's not the case. We had to focus on what the commissioners deliberated and what they ultimately said. And what was abundantly clear, and as we concluded, is they really wanted to leave this to be a council decision, a council and mayor decision. They used the term micromanage, I think, at some point. They didn't want to micromanage either the mayor or the council to say that, this is a really strict mold that we want you to have to fit this person into. We're going to give you the latitude, so you decide. You as a collective body decide whether this person has the necessary qualifications to do the job. So answering your question, I think the record, because really that's what we look at the end of the day, the record supports that is exactly what the Charter Commission intended. To me, I love this discussion today. I think it's a healthy legal discussion, because what's playing out today is exactly what the Charter Commission intended, is to have this spirited debate, looking at the person and saying, is this a person who, can lead, the department? So answering to your question, I think we're okay.
Okay, thank you. Because when I first looked at this and the charter language, I was completely ambiguous. Like Mr. Reese stated earlier, and Ms. Poindexter stated as well, I could argue both sides of it completely, and I'd be fine with the decision. But when I looked at it first, and when I first looked at it, it said an engineering degree, for the Director of Environmental Management. And then below that, it said, or a related field, which I said was connected to the Director of Environmental Management. That's when I first saw it. That's why I looked at it. I voted for this charter when it came up before, and I thought it was ambiguous then. I still think it's ambiguous now. What is a related field to that? So that's just even asking constituents, even asking people on the side of the road, what do you feel about this? It's the same thing. They have no idea, and it leaves open the possibility. And then when Ms. Leithead Todd spoke about her appointment, what was it,
2007.
2007, and the council then appointed you unanimously on the conditions that you had a related field for the director. And I'm gonna kind of go off of that precedent as well, and state that publicly, because that's what I feel, and I know you'll do a great job.
I see our other various sites up with us, so we're going to continue. We are missing Mr. Onishi. I think he's on his way, and we're still actually in the middle of discussion on communication 326. So my recollection is that we had we completed the first round of discussion or comments from council members, so we're going to go for a second round of comments or discussion. I thought I saw Ms. Willie's light. Ms. Willie, did you want to go next on the second round of discussion, or?
Is there someone else who wants to go first?
I don't see anyone else's lights on, so it's up to you, Ms. Willie, if you want. If not,
No, it's fine.
okay.
Oh, I thought Ms. Ford still had more to go.
Oh, plenty.
Well, why don't you go first then?
Okay,
Just hit your light, Ms. Ford, when you're ready.
I'm not ready. Okay. Mr. Ashida, would you please come back? I'm going to be asking Mr. Ashida a series of questions because honestly, I don't know what the right question is or how to phrase it. I'm not an attorney, so if this sounds redundant, I am apologizing in advance.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ashida.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, when the mayor came in earlier, he mentioned the communication with attorney-client privilege, and he said he didn't care if it was publicized. Did that cause a breach of this communications attorney-client privilege?
Yes, and by breach,
I may not be using the right word.
You know, what I did in this case, if you notice, I sent the exact same letter to both the council and to the mayor.
Okay.
So it's completely how the council wishes to handle the privilege is your kuleana or concern. But in terms of the mayor, he has the authority as the privilege holder to waive privilege on his side. So the net effect is the same letter. If he decides that he's going to waive the privilege and it's out there, the bottom line is it's out there.
Okay, does this mean that this communication can be given to the press?
I would suppose if they ask the mayor's office, and yes, if the privilege was waived, then the answer is yes.
Okay, so again, I'm sorry for the redundancy. Does this reference that the mayor made also breach the county's attorney-client privilege?
Well, there's only one privilege, and that's to the county. I think what you're meaning to ask, forgive me, but I think what you're asking is whether that somehow allows, prevents, or how does it affect the council's ability to discuss it?
Discuss the contents of it.
Suffice it to say, I think, and I think most of you have read it, for the most part, I think a significant portions of that letter are dedicated to citing the transcripts of the Charter Commission, which are a public record, number one. I think our conclusions pretty much have been put out there in the public domain already. The way I look at it, since you asked, is pretty much the vast majority and significant portions of what's in there have already been exposed in the public domain, whether it be through the mayor's statements earlier or in questions or statements made by this council during their earlier discussion before lunch.
Okay, the reason I'm asking these questions is because nobody on this council has discussed the contents of this communication. The mayor said it existed, and we referred to it, but at least a couple of us have referred to it, but we have not divulged the content. And what my concern is, and I may not be asking the right question, I want to make sure that if any of us refer to the contents of this thing, that we're not in somehow breaching the confidentiality. It's already been breached, was what I think I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, it's already in the public domain, yes.
All of it, 100% of this.
I believe so, given the mayor's statement this morning that I heard him say that he is the privilege holder is waiving any attorney-client privilege as to the contents of that letter.
Okay, and the mayor represents the county.
Correct.
Okay, so if any of us discuss the contents of this communication, then does that mean that the Corporation Council is not going to sue us or attack us? I mean, attack is, I don't know what the right word is, take legal action against us.
No, absolutely not. And, you know, basically, you can ask me any question today. You know, whether it's in the letter or not, the answer is going to be the same. If you just ask me questions that are, you know,
all right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get into the contents of this thing. The first part that I'm going to discuss is public information. The actual charter amendment states, shall the charter of the County of Hawaii be amended to require the director of the Department of Environmental Management to possess an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. First of all, I want to point out, it doesn't talk about administration at all. It only talks about whether or not the director shall possess an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. Now, I know there are some people who think a related field can be anything. My management degree could be related. I doubt it.
Ms. Ford, just to help, reference what page you're looking at so we can follow along.
Page 2 in the middle of the page in italics. Okay, so what the voters actually voted on was yes or no. Should the director have a degree in engineering or a related field? And the answer was yes, they voted yes. You have to have an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. So that's number one. Secondly, at the top of the page, in number 2, you see, I'm going to read this for the public. This is Mr. Lincoln, this is your letter, right? This, let me just look at it. Is this your letter and your conclusions, your opinion? I'm sorry, Mr. Ashida. I'm saying Mr. Lincoln, I apologize. Yes, it has your signature on it.
Yes, it
Yes.
sounds like you're citing
Okay.
from it, yes.
Page 2, the top paragraph, based on, quote, based on our review of the minutes and proceedings of the 2009-2010 Charter Commission, we conclude as follows. Number 1, the Director of the Department of Environmental Management must possess an engineering degree or a baccalaureate degree in a field relevant to the management of the Department of Environmental Management. Here's the first place I take exception. That's not what the Charter Commission, that's not what the Charter Amendment said. It said, shall they possess a degree in engineering or a related field? It doesn't talk about the relevance to management of the department. So that first conclusion, in my opinion, is erroneous.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, you certainly may, sir.
That's exactly why I had them on the same page, so there would be no confusion as to the italicized version that Ms. Ford referred to earlier as exactly what the charter question asks. The 2 bullets that she's reading now, number 1 and 2 above that, that's basically our interpretation or our opinion. And it all goes back to the very thing that Mr. Kanuha said before lunch. If you read that italicized portion over and over again, I think that there may, for some, maybe not for everybody, but for some, there is some ambiguity into exactly what that means. And let's face it, we're at the point, I think, where, because we went through this process when we prepared this opinion, because we took it from the position, let's prove that somebody, let's prove that the candidate is not qualified. That was our starting point. We started backwards to get to where we, ended up. Everybody agrees, no engineering degree, present, at least in the present case, no beef there. So now it turns on, what does this mean? A degree in a related field. What is a related field? Is it related to the technical, the technical day-to-day engineering functioning of DEM? Is it related to the overall management of DEM? Is it like Ms. Poindexter pointed out earlier? Does it go back to, is it related to a field that is related to the ability to be a department head? I think that was your point, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where we at. That ambiguity is what we sought to resolve. So what we did in that number 1 is to say it has to be relevant to the management of DEM. Now, don't get caught up on the word management in terms of the administrative management. I left it broad like that. Again, it ties into number 2. That's your call. Your call to decide how important are the technical aspects, the engineering portion, or how important is it to have more of the administrative skills. What if the degree we're talking about is public administration? So that is correct. Absolutely, our conclusion differs from what was on the ballot question, because if I just recited what the ballot question are, we'd be going in circles because of the ambiguity. So bottom line, those 2 bullets, what I'm saying, you decide to what degree that baccalaureate or that college degree has to be related to the technical engineering aspects, or can it be related to the management business side aspects? And number 2, bottom line says, it's your call. It's your call.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ashida. I don't agree with you, obviously, because when you have a deputy and a director, a deputy director and a director, it seems to me that if you can't get a person that has the technical training, the technical background in science or engineering to run the department, then that's what the deputy, for me as a management person, my degrees in management, you get a complementary person to handle the part that you can't handle. So we have an attorney in
May I
there.
ask who you're talking about?
I'm just talking theoretically. If you want somebody that needs to be the person with the technical wizardry to understand all of those contracts, to all the pieces of equipment, what's going to happen, like we had in Mr. Tyson. I got to tell you, the guy's brilliant. You have somebody like that, and let's say that they don't have the administrative side really good, which he did, but then you get a complimentary person in your deputy that can help you with that. But that's not what the charter amendment asked. It asked, should they have an engineering degree or a degree in a related field? This is a technical degree. One of the things that Mr. Tyson pointed out during the Charter Commission was the environmental management used to be part of public works, which is a required engineering degree, required. We split it off. It was too much for any one director to handle. Water supply requires an engineering degree, and hopefully they have expertise sufficient to handle everything, but sometimes the reality is they might not. But you don't put your technical expertise in the second position. The technical expertise needs to be in the top position because they got to make the final calls. Just like one of our testifiers said earlier, somebody's got to make a decision like that if there's something going down that's really bad. That's why you put the technician at the top position. I'll yield.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ford. Second round of discussion, comments, council members. Ms. Willie?
I had a lot of trouble with this opinion, and I really had a lot of trouble with it. And I think that in reading over the legislative history at the commission, the comments like that it was left in the hands of the council's oversight, like some of the things that council member Kanuha brought up, were based on the first vote, which was really leaning towards where I feel this council's trying to go, and also which some of us who were present raised similar issues. Whether just saying a related field so that it could be used, a related field could refer back to, just like Chair Haitsuka said before the final change, that it would be to the duties of the Department of Environmental Management. And that was how they went. And that's why they took a vote to just say that it be in terms of, not say an engineering degree or a degree in a related field. It would just say, or a degree in a related field. So it could refer back to being that what your number one says, your conclusion number one. But then, lo and behold, the head of the department comes back and is not satisfied. I mean, originally he started out, the whole first questions are, what are we going to do with Mr. Tyson's request to require some type of engineering degree? So they boiled it down to where we're sort of looking at it at this point, the way you're recommending. And that's in their October 9th meeting, or through their October 9th meeting and vote. But here comes Mr. Tyson back. And says, no, that's not what I'm getting at. I want the technicality. I want that if you've got underheads that have registered engineering degrees in this department, he wanted to have someone with that technical information, not just be a good administrator. For whatever reason, he felt that way. And where he's saying, what should it be related to? Well, he's saying, solid waste, wastewater division, recycling. And then he brings up anything ranging from environmental science to even geology to a certain extent. In other words, that you need the technical information ability, not just the administrative. If you read through what happened, that's where they were leaning, and they kept going, do we really want to do that? Do we really want it? And then they ended up going and say, okay, this is what the head of this department is asking for, and there were no no's. There were no no's. They changed it to it so that it would read, shall have a minimum of 5 years of administrative experience in a related field and a degree in engineering or in a related field. So one is the educational requirement, one is the administrative. So, I just find it very hard, and I feel that even the way the memo is written, where it's written about the whole background in 2009 and all these points, it all sort of lumps it in together, or as what Ms. Leithead Todd said, what happened in 2007. We had a definitive event. We had an amendment to our Constitution, and there was the question, if everyone else somehow comes out with something else, I feel part of it is the way this, I feel this, your opinion is slanted, and I feel this is why I keep asking. I feel that you're caught between your representing the administration, and I think that we need to, anyway, I have a very hard time reading over the administrative history and coming out with it. Second, I just think in a general policy, even if this were, we keep appointing lawyers. Now, lawyers aren't all bad, but we keep appointing lawyers to be heads of of departments or journalists. I just think you go around I would love for Ms. Leithead Todd, I think what I would be doing here is appointing her, being the Corporation Counsel for now, or as deputy.
Ms. Woolley, your time's up. Summarize.
Well, okay, I'm going to sum up, but I'm going to finish this sentence. And change the charter. There's the rule of law. We're not above the rule of law. Keep it simple. I think that she has a lot to offer, but we keep doing these double attorneys, like we need a couple gladiators or political pals in each department, and not really focus that.
Okay, Ms. Woolley. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to some of those statements? First of all, with respect to this opinion, I certainly don't agree that it was written in any way to influence opinion or slant. As a matter of fact, if you look at it, out of the 11 pages, 8 pages are dedicated to verbatim transcriptions of the minutes of the Charter Commission. So basically what I gave the council is it's in black and white. This is exactly what was said by the Charter Commission, and from there it is up to you to glean what the intent of those words, or in this case lack thereof, what those words mean. And again, I need to ask again, or maybe I'll just clarify, because there's been some mention about a deputy at environmental management who's a lawyer, and it's public record. If the reference is to Mr. Torigoy, he's retired from the County of Hawaii. My understanding, there is no deputy at environmental management. So it seemed people were sort of dancing around that, but if that's what was being implied, I don't currently, the department, my understanding, has an acting director in Ms. Leithead Todd, but no deputy yet. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ashida. Ms. Poindexter.
Put on my HR hat back again and just look at it from that point, because that's where I feel that my due diligence was done. And after looking at how it could be interpreted, and then I passed that application on to the CEO. The CEO, normally in a private sector will have the ability to hire the person of their choosing. Main thing, everything like Mr. Reese had stated, if it's legal, and so I got legal opinion, and so So I felt comfortable in that. The one thing I like to talk about, technical, and not all people who have those degrees in those areas would make a good department head, because when you talk about, I'll give you an example, an RN can work to the top of their credentials, but not necessarily be the greatest director of nursing. And so that's why in job descriptions, we always have the related field in there, so that we have that flexibility of being able to work around that. That's the whole reason why people in HR departments who work with their attorneys and draw up the job descriptions, a lot of that, you have that. So you have that flexibility so that the CEO, once a person meets that criteria, can make the best decision based on the organizational structure for the entire organization. So I'm still supporting this nomination, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Mr. Kern?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is funny. So if she had a degree in mechanical engineering or electrical, as the mayor said earlier today, or structural engineering, this would be really a non-issue. Even though those degrees really have nothing to do with Department of Environmental Management. So to me, it's like what Mr. Ashida is saying. It's at the end of the day, it's like we have the choice. What's most important for us? Is it to have that certain technicality degree, or is it to have the person being able to manage and run a department, as Ms. Poindexter was just saying? And if you're going to let electrical engineering degree be okay, I think that would cross over to saying the 5 years in a related field. It works. It was already voted on before. It makes sense. It's simple. I think it's being overcomplicated, really. The fact of the matter is we have a department that's in desperate need of revamping, of change, and attention from a high level management side of things. And that's what we have. We have somebody sitting there ready to take that on. Most people that would even have a degree wouldn't even want to take this on. This is a daunting task at best. We have somebody there that's more than capable. We've seen their track record over years, and they're ready to do it. We're going to question them on that. We have the legal opinion. It's fine. Let's vote for her and allow her to go do the job. There's so much to be done. That's all that we need to do. Let's move on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kern. We're still in the second round. Anybody else wanted to speak? Second round, Mr. Onishi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Listening to the discussion, what I'm hearing from council members or certain council members is just what I feel is their opinion on how this wording is. And so anyone can read this and give their own opinion. And we're never going to be satisfied. I mean, like Mr. Chung had mentioned, you poll 100 people, you're going to have 50 going to say one way, 50 going to be the other way, right? And then listening to council members saying our corp counsel is wrong, and that's why we need one independent lawyer or legal specialist. And it's like, why? Because just because the opinion isn't what you want, now you go against them. And that's wrong, because you're not going to always, to me, win the battle. Okay, you're going to have to, sometimes there's a compromise, or like your interpretation might be different. It's just different. So that's where, I don't know, listening to the arguments that, it's been happening, to me, you have your own opinion, and then you vote on your opinion. Okay, but you don't try to say that the lawyers are wrong and that we should have somebody else to rule on that opinion. Because then you could select someone who going to support you, and then they're going to favor you. Then the other council members might say, "Oh no, that's wrong. I don't agree with that lawyer." Then who wins? Nobody wins. You just keep on fighting each other. And so that's the discussion I'm hearing from council members. So, but I'm gonna support Ms. Leithead Todd, and I'm gonna take the advice from Corp Counsel, what they had given us their opinion, that it's okay, that she qualifies. And so that's where I'm gonna go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Onishi.
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead, Mr. Ashida.
Because technically, well, I shouldn't use that word. In reality, I never said she qualified. Again, what it simply says is you make that decision in terms of what a related degree, whether it's relevant to them, to functioning or running that department. It is your call. You know, I mean, not to make light of this, but it's amazing that I'm getting all of this criticism for an opinion that basically says it's completely up to you. I mean, really, it's completely up to you.
Right.
You know? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, just, I want to, correct myself, I mean, you just giving your opinion of what, and it's like, it's up to us, like you mentioned, yes.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying that, everybody has their opinion, and you vote to what you feel. Thank you.
Okay, that was the second round of discussion. Council rules indicate that we only have 2 rounds of discussion at the council level. Ms. Willie, you mentioned something earlier, so I'll give you, are you gonna?
Just quickly.
Okay, so just.
Mr. Chair, I object. If we give it to one, we got to give it to all.
Oh, I agree.
We can't, that's what'll happen, and it won't be fair if we don't do that, and our council rules state this, and I don't think we should be doing this right now.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that it'll keep on going until we get to 10 rounds or something. There comes a time that we got to start following our council rules. I know there's some, and we went a long time already. This is an appointment. We can either be for it or against it. We stated this is not a debate on council and it's not a bill that we're debating. We're handling this, to me, differently than we have handled other appointments. And I don't know why, but it's...
On that point, I'd like to respond. On that specific point.
On the point of whether we allow another round? Go ahead, Ms. Willie.
This should have gone to committee. There was plenty of time between the time that these people were put in as designees, and it could have. I don't know what date it got to the council. This is skipped over. So we didn't have our conversation level where we have whatever amount of time. So in terms of the rules, we skipped what would be the appropriate rule. So I'm saying, let's compromise, allow for a little, we've had 2 rounds, and not get into an argument which is the rule or what is the right way to follow the rule.
Okay, well, in all fairness, when this happened in the past, and, we had some objections as to whether we relax our rules, sometimes we just take it to vote. Maybe that's the easiest way. So, because technically we're supposed to, Mr. Kern?
I call for the question.
Then
Point of order. I don't believe he can call for the question until after everybody's had their rounds of discussion, and there are people still wanting to talk.
Point of order, the discussion is POW per our council rules. There's nobody else that hasn't had 2 rounds that wants to talk, so I feel that I'd be valid in calling for the question.
Well, let's get the parliamentary procedure correct, so let's take a brief recess. Thank you. Recess. Ready? We're going to call the meeting back to order. Okay, I checked with our staff in terms of parliamentary procedure. The question can occur at any time, and so long as there's a second, then we would vote on that. That's not debatable. I know Ms. Ford's going to look up the rules as far as who can speak last, as I recall. Ms. Ford, I know you're looking at that. So, Mr. Kern, you made the call for the question, but there wasn't a second. So unless I hear a second, then, we're going to deem that...
Second.
Okay, there's a second by Ms. Poindexter.
We're not going to look at the rule.
No, Ms. Ford, you need time to look?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we...
If I remember correctly, last time it was that the maker of the introducer of the bill, it's their bill, they have the last opportunity to speak even after the call of the question. Exactly, so I don't believe that would be relevant in this case.
Okay. Ms. Ford, how much time do you need? You want to take recess? Or?
I'm sure he would designate me.
Okay, rather than waste airtime, because it does cost. Mr. Onishi, what did you...
I just want to say that, because I waived it from my committee, right? And to full council because of the time.
Okay, well, we cannot debate though because there's a call for the question, so.
okay.
Sorry, I mean, okay. So I'm gonna call recess.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Okay, so we checked the rules, and Ms. Ford, did you want to address it any further as far as the call for the question?
This is,
Okay.
ending the debate ahead of time, so whatever.
Understood. Okay, so there's been a call for the question and a second, and that's not debatable, so this would need 6 votes to pass on the issue of call for the question. So that's what we're voting on now. Any questions as to what we're voting on now, council members?
Unless you all want to designate me for...
Okay, so we're voting on the call for the question. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Eoff?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
No.
Mr. Ligon?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
No.
Mr. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi?
No.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
No.
Chair Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 5 ayes.
Okay, so motion fails because we needed 6 votes. So we're back to where we were, which is we had completed the second round of discussions, although I don't believe everyone has participated 2 times. So there's a request from Ms. Willie to, Mr. Onishi, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Onishi, go
I
ahead.
only one time. Yeah, I just want to tell or ask council members that if they're gonna make comments again, to make comments of something different and don't repeat what you guys just said in your last 2 turns, because we already heard that. So bring in new evidence or a new argument of why or you should or you shouldn't. Okay, and I just want to leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, and those that's a point well taken. When you look at Robert's rules, I mean, the emphasis is to have debate, but not be repetitive, and so that's a good point. That should occur for every single thing that we discuss. So anyway, in light of the fact that Miss Willie is asking for further latitude, and Mr. Onishi indicated that it did get waived from committee, my suggestion is we just entertain one more final round and then we're done, because I think we have talked about this at length, everyone except me actually. So Ms. Willie, that's my ruling. We're going to go one more round and that's it. So you want to take your third opportunity now?
Yes, I am.
Final?
And I'm
Just
going
one-
to make it quick.
One quick point of order. I object. We should be following our rules.
Okay, noted.
Okay. I want to just bring up what Lincoln said, is it's really in our hands, that it's really our decision or our, as CEO or our confirmation. I see it as the charter, and I do personally feel it's clear, and that I had a problem with the changing of that at the time, but the point I'm trying to make it really isn't us. It's we as voters put that into the charter, and it's the charter that makes the decision. So I appreciate especially your comments in terms of opinions and everyone, and I'm only going with what I believe and how I believe it's read, and how I believe in terms of construction, you look at what it would be read, that question that went to the voters, and what is the common sense, and if you're not sure, you go to legislative history. That's it. So I really, when we put things in the charter, we're not above the law, we're stuck with them, and I'd love to have her in deputy position till this is straightened out, or otherwise Corporation Counsel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willie. Third go-around, any other comments? Ms. Ford? Ms. Willie, if you can turn off your light.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I agree with everything that Margaret just said. We, the council, make the decision provided that we follow the law. And in my opinion, and my attorney's opinion, the law is unambiguous. We have to follow the charter. That is the umbrella law in this county. And it is a slap in the face to any voter who voted for this specific amendment that's very clear. Either you possess a degree in engineering or a degree in a related field to engineering. It's the only way you can interpret it. But the final interpretation is going to be in a court of law. So it's a matter of, you better be prepared that if this goes to court, that you're going to be defending yourself in some way. I don't know how. And I don't know the legal procedures, so I can't speak to that. But this will wind up in front of a judge, and the judge is going to make the decision. And you could be wrong. I could be wrong. But it's not Corporation Counsel's interpretation. They've just said, it's up to you guys. And some of us are saying, one of whom is an attorney, is saying, it's the charter. The voters put that in there in the subject. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I'm a voter, and I voted for that with the understanding that a related field was a flexible, like I said, in my experience as an HR manager, that gave me the flexibility. So I'm a voter, and I know what I voted for also, so I just want to let you know that we all have different interpretations. And like any job description, should we want it to mean something exactly what we want, we need to have that stated. So that's my interpretation as a voter when I, voted for this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Mr. Kanuha?
I completely disagree with Ms. Ford's statements. It's unambiguous. It's ambiguous. It's not clear in what's stated. That's why we have the decision to make on what is clear or not. So that's the reason why, I feel a certain way. Everybody feels a certain way. That's how we are voting on this issue. So that's my opinion, and that's how I'm going to vote. Decide whether it's right or wrong.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kanuha. Any other final comments, council members? Okay, so I'm going to close discussion if no one says anything, and I'm going to just provide some final comments. Does that mean I have 10 minutes, council members,
Yes.
or 15?
Yes,
No.
you do.
No, okay.
I vote yes.
Sitting here for many years, I'm not going to get too philosophical. We've seen issues come and go. Every issue is very important to us, and I firmly believe that each person sitting, on this table here is doing what they believe is right. And this issue, more than any other issue, I think really brings to light that we can read things and yet see something different. When you look at the language, and I could read some quotations from the minutes, and really, you could read it, all the different ways that we talked about here. But the bottom line is when I see the Corporation Counsel's opinion, it really does make sense what Mr. Ashida said about leaving the discretion to the council. I mean, you'll look at the minutes, and commissioners will say, I trust that she will be diligent in her job. Whether I believe she's right or wrong, that's another issue. The question becomes whether we have qualified people who are willing to serve. And when you look at this position, this has been, and I don't like to use these kind of words, but a very difficult position to fill. So the fact that she was willing to step up to the plate in the past and did a credible job, as I think everyone here has mentioned, and the fact that she's willing to step up again, I think speaks volumes in terms of her commitment. When we talk about people who are coming forward, serving on our volunteer commissions, we always thank them for their commitment to our community. And so, someone I think mentioned to me, why does Ms. Leithead Todd want to continue to subject herself to this, right? But I don't recall anyone, faulting Ms. Leithead Todd's effort. Her roots are in the community, and so, we have this legal hurdle in terms of whether she's qualified as far as having a law degree in her background. I'll note that she did previously serve as the director, and so I think that counts for something. Even if that's not in the specific language of the charter, in my deliberation process, once we get past the question of, is this a related field? I mean, does her background qualify as a related field? Once we get past that, then I think, the rest is easy. And so, council members, I just, suggest to you that you make your own conclusions based upon what you've heard today. I don't think, there's a clear right or wrong answer, other than the fact I do believe that we have the discretion as the confirming body on what to do. So that much is for certain, and that's why I think, proceeding forward right now, we just need to make the best decision possible. So I thank everyone for their comments, and Mr. Clerk, I'm going to call for the vote.
Ms. Eoff.
No.
Ms. Ford.
No.
Mr. Iligan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
Aye.
Mr. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Onishi. Ms. Poindexter.
Aye.
Ms. Willie.
No.
Chair Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 6 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. So the appointment of Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Environmental Management Director is confirmed. We can take a brief recess.